What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. So the PlayStation 5 is coming out this holiday, but there's still a lot of information we don't know about it. Like, price, release date, some of the kind of important things, right? But there have been a lot of rumors going around about the possibility of the PlayStation 5 playing legacy software through backwards compatibility, but it looks like Ubisoft may have set the record straight here for us. We'll go over that today. Also, 8BitDo unveiled a really cool looking controller for the Switch. It's a full arcade stick. It'll also work with PC and has quite a few features to it. Oh, and it seems that data miners may have actually found evidence of an experience system that was supposed to be in Paper Mario: The Origami King. Should be kind of interesting to see what happens when Arlo takes a look at that article. As always, guys, if you enjoy these videos, make sure to hit the like button, helps out a ton. And if brand new here, hit the red subscribe button down below. We're working at 500,000 subscribers by the end of this year. And we're gonna start today with a reminder for the NVIDIA event that is coming up in just a few hours after this video goes live, 12 p.m. noon Eastern. We will have this NVIDIA GeForce event after their timer, I guess, counts down to 0. And there's a lot of expectations around this event with several different leaks and rumors surrounding it that seem to show a full lineup of new RTX cards based on their new Ampere architecture that they are going to unveil. And these seem to include all kinds of cards, including the RTX 3060, 3070, 3080, and even 3090 that appears to cap out at $1,400 based on some different price leaks. And it does go down at least to $400 with the 3060s. That might even kick down some of the previous cards prices. Hopefully, we'll see like the 2070 Super, for example. So we're gonna see what they have for us here. From what we're expecting, we would see better ray tracing support from newer tensor cores or just improved technology overall, as well as, of course, just better overall resolution, frame rates, and all of these. Just more powerful cards. However, you never know what else they could have there. So exciting stuff. Make sure you check it out. Like I said, just a few hours after this video goes live, they should start their event. Also, there's been a lot of talk around the idea of Final Fantasy 16 teaming up with Sony for the PS5 as a timed exclusive with Square Enix, maybe coming some kind of deal with them. And it looks like a Twitter account has popped up, and we've seen this before. Don't worry, we'll talk about that. But you can see the Twitter account here. It's at Final Fantasy or FF16_JP, that would be Final Fantasy 16. The tweets are protected, and it joined August 2020, so very recently. And like I said, we saw this before with several different things, right? We saw it with F-Zero, and then they tweeted something out that made it pretty obvious that they weren't related in any way to Nintendo. It was a troll account. Perfect Dark seemed to do the same thing. But then we also had something like Fable that turned out to be correct. So it seems to be like a 25 to 30% chance that this Final Fantasy 16 Twitter account is real. But like I said, there have been a lot of talks around a PlayStation 5 event coming up in the next week or so, right? Basically the first half of September, and we've seen some timed exclusivity deals with Sony and Square Enix, with Final Fantasy VII Remake being the most recent example. So I wouldn't be shocked if Sony threw around some money in order to secure Final Fantasy 16 as a timed, maybe 1-year exclusive for the PlayStation 5 in an effort to push and sell more consoles. Because, I mean, Microsoft's not really doing anything like that, so Sony will probably try to take advantage of it. Oh, and we had talked about the original collaboration between Monster Energy and Microsoft for the Xbox Series X and Halo. There's just one problem. Halo, of course, was delayed, so Monster's not really going to be able to give out a Halo Infinite or Xbox Series X systems as a bundle, so it looks like they're going to be doing some other promotional material and different things leading up to the release of Halo, as it looks like this holiday they will have special edition or special themed Monster Energy cans that have Master Chief on it for Halo Infinite that's not actually out this year. Instead, you'll be able to, according to them, bank experience boosters. You can apparently boost your experience over the course of like 30 minutes to an hour with these, and that way you get more experience for a game that's not going to be out until hopefully next year. They were definitely trying to salvage this whole collaboration. Unfortunately, Halo Infinite had to get delayed, and it kind of threw a wrench into their plans here. Who knows, maybe next year they'll come back to the table and give away systems in Halo again. For now, though, this just seems to be kind of a band-aid over the situation with Monster Energy still getting Master Chief on their cans for this holiday. Either way, those will go on sale starting today and be on sale leading up to the end of this year. And guys, with some of the quick news out of the way, let's get into the bigger stuff. We're gonna start right away with the PlayStation 5 backwards compatibility that a lot of people were hoping that would be there, but I mean, it was pretty much shot down a while ago when Sony didn't really talk about it at all, and they mostly just talked about PlayStation 4 and how they had been testing a ton of PS4 games, went from like the top 100 to like thousands, and even that still, we're kind of unsure. They're gonna have to release a list or just give us a decent idea as to which games we'll be able to actually put into the PlayStation 5 and play, or re-download if we had bought them digitally for the PlayStation 4, and if we'll get any kind of benefits in terms of visuals or frame rate or any of that. But you can see here, this was a post that was put up by Ubisoft. Nabelian did manage to clip it, and that's where I saw it. So you can see that here. And it does say, as you can see highlighted, backwards compatibility will be available for supported PlayStation 4 titles, but will not be possible for PlayStation 3, PlayStation 2, or PlayStation games. This was in response to a question, how does upgrading from PlayStation 4 to PlayStation 5 work? Which, for a lot of companies, seems to be a lot more complicated than you would think, right? But here we are now with Ubisoft saying, well, any of our PS2 or PS1 or PS3 games won't work on the PS5. Now, on the flip side, Microsoft's section for that answer just says, yes, Xbox original, Xbox 360, Xbox One, those games will be compatible, just like straight up. So it's not too surprising because Microsoft has had more of a focus on backwards compatibility for the original Xbox and the Xbox 360, like straight up. They've done enhancements even to the original Xbox games like Knights of the Old Republic, and it's actually really cool to have that. All those games follow you to the Series X. That is a massive advantage, I would say, for the Series X. There have been a lot of questions as to how many people use backwards compatibility. I will say for me, I use it a lot for Skate 3, and it would have been really cool to have Skate 3 also work on my PlayStation 5 because, like, why not? It's another place to be able to play it. As of now, I guess I'll be sticking to Microsoft and the Series X when I want to play Skate 3. It is kind of cool that the 360 version of Skate 3 is going to follow me from the 360 to the Xbox One and the Series X, and I'm still going to be playing it as I wait for Skate 4 to come out. It's been that many generations this game has gone by that I've been playing it, but here we are, right? And I actually look forward to more things that they're going to do with backwards compatibility because I like the idea of them going back, getting older games, and making improvements on them. Jim Ryan is not interested in backwards compatibility for like the PS1 and the PS2, which is why it was so funny when they came out with that PlayStation Classic because like a month or two before, he said we had Gran Turismo up and he was like, who wants to play this thing? And then they come out with the PlayStation Classic. I mean, the biggest part here to me is it's just more value. It's added value for your purchase, right? It's just more games you can play on your system, whether you would play it or not. There are probably people out there who will. But is this a make or break for the PlayStation 5? Absolutely not, right? Because if Sony comes out with games that are only on the PS5, that are exclusive, that are compelling, that are new, people will just pick up the PS5 and will keep the PlayStation 3 fat model plugged in, right? That's the way we're gonna have to go about it. I have backwards compatible PS3 that I use actually quite frequently for PS2 games. It would have been nice though to have Metal Gear Solid 4 be able to be played on the PlayStation 5 because I have no confidence that Konami will ever go back and do anything with Metal Gear Solid 4 unless they need a new slot machine. You know what? There we go. Metal Gear Solid 4 in Vegas. I guess that's where we're going to be able to play it. Next up, let's talk about the 8BitDo arcade stick. This is coming out for the Switch and for PC. They have Steam kind of pointed out, but it appears to run through USB, through a wireless receiver, 2.4 gigahertz, or wired, so you can just plug it in. I assume it'll work for pretty much anything on PC. They just point out Steam specifically, it seems, but you can see several images here. We're just gonna go through a bunch of them as we go through some of the product details, but it is coming out October 20th. It's currently up for pre-order on Amazon at $89.99. That'll be with free shipping. So for an arcade stick with this much customization from 8BitDo, based on the price of some of their other controllers like the SN30 Plus Pro, that's not bad. To be honest, that's actually pretty good, I would say, for an arcade stick like this, especially with some of the features they've outlined, like dynamic button layout, button swap function. They have the Ultimate software paired with it, which was okay with the SN30 Pro Plus. It has a lot of options, but it looks very basic. I mean, it doesn't look like, it doesn't have a ton of bells and whistles that make it look all crazy and nice on screen. It's very basic looking, but it gets the job done, I guess. And then you can also change out the control stick, turbo functionality, and they also have 2 dedicated macro buttons. It has a 1000 milliamp hour rechargeable battery inside, and you can see it also allows you to change out the buttons, and it is compatible with several arcade sticks like Sanwa or Hap, for example, and different buttons also. So looking at this with how moddable and customizable it is, and by the way, I love the look because 8-Bit Dough really likes to stick kind of with the old school NES or Super Nintendo look for a lot of their accessories, and this is designed for the Switch, so it makes sense that they would go that route. But to have an arcade stick set up like this with all different types of options, it also has that 2.4 gigahertz receiver kind of tucked away in a little spot so you can just kind of carry it around with you without worrying about losing it. And it has a Bluetooth mode as well. So you can just pair it up through Bluetooth if you don't even want to use that, or you just plug it right in. It's pretty cool looking. I actually might look into this. I'm not a big arcade stick fan for the most part. I don't really use them because I don't play a lot of fighting games, but I think Evan would probably use this quite a bit. And to be honest, it might work pretty well for some side-scrolling games. And we've seen a lot of Neo Geo stuff show up on the Switch, so why not? We'll check it out, maybe even a tech wave, and see just how good it is. Next up, let's talk about Paper Mario and the Origami King. It came out in July. Reviews were okay for it, but there was one thing that kept getting pointed out, and that was that as people got further in the game, they tried to avoid the random battles more and more because there was no experience or sense of progression when it comes to your characters. You, of course, beat the enemies in a battle, and you would get coins and use those coins to buy different items and upgrades at times. The only problem was, as you got further and further, you would end up getting flooded with coins, and people just didn't feel the reward from actually winning in a random battle. But what if there was an experience system? What if there had been an experience system? Because it appears that data miners looked through some save game files, even just straight up in Notepad apparently, and they came across a value that stuck out to them. You can see that here. This was posted up by Gaming Reinvented, that a few lines down says Battle Win EXP. Now, a lot of people are thinking this could mean that there was at some point an experience system in there. Now, I do also wonder if they just named this and they had something else in mind, a different value for that maybe is like a hidden value that doesn't necessarily mean experience. But I mean, more likely there was an experience system at least thought of at some point, could have even been scrapped early on in the concept stages, or maybe they played around with it in testing and they thought, maybe not, maybe we'll just kind of cut this out because, I don't know, they seem to feel the need, it seems, to change things constantly with Paper Mario. I do wonder if, because they've changed things so much, if just going back to Thousand Year Door, just as an example, right, with more of an RPG or JRPG feel to it, would feel different because a lot of people now didn't even play games at that time. Like, would that be a new experience for a lot of people currently, especially on the Switch? There's a lot of people who either came back to Nintendo with the Switch or this is their first system completely. I think it could still work. I do like the puzzle mechanic that they dropped in there, but I do recognize that just a little extra, that experience to help with progression of your characters, I think would put it over the top with the amazing writing at times. Just a lot of fun with the way the characters interact with each other, the great world and visuals. Yeah, that would, I think, put it over the top to where fans all around it and even critics would have it with like critical acclaim. And in our last bit of news, let's talk about Gods and Monsters. Do you remember this game? Because I feel like everyone forgot about it. It was shown by Ubisoft. I think it was like their E3. That was that last year. And since then, it's sort of disappeared. It's being done by the Assassin's Creed Odyssey team. And it looks like it's going to be an open world action adventure style game with some puzzle elements. It's going to deal with Greek mythology. And from what they showed with a very short trailer, it at least looked interesting, but we haven't really seen enough about it to really make a determination on how good that it's going to be. But it looks like Ubisoft is getting ready to show us more about this game because a new rating was spotted. Gamatsu had the story here that it says the Taiwan Digital Game Rating Committee has rated Immortals Phoenix Rising by Ubisoft. That's going to be for, of course, the Xbox One, the PlayStation 4, the Switch, and the PC. I almost wonder if they went into focus groups and Gods and Monsters just felt too generic, or maybe they reflected on it and said, you know what, we have to change this up a bit to be more representative of maybe the story, The plot itself, I mean, Phoenix is, I think, spelled a bit differently than you would expect. So people have wondered if that's the name of the character, or maybe that's centering around something in the game that the entire plot centers around. Immortals Phoenix Rising, I guess that does sound better than Gods and Monsters, but we're probably just gonna have to wait a bit longer into September when we have that Ubisoft Forward event. I would hope they would have full gameplay ready to go for it, because I am expecting this game to come out in the first half of 2021, so we'll see. Hopefully not too much longer, just a few weeks. We'll see more about this. And we'll finish up with the comment of the day, as you're seeing here. This is from NV saying, Nintendo and Platinum have a very strong relationship, and with Astral Chain selling way above expectations, I'd be shocked if we aren't getting a sequel in the future. Super excited for the idea, as I love Astral Chain, but please show us Bayonetta 3 first. I don't know what happened to Bayonetta 3. That thing just disappeared. Like, they keep saying in interviews that it's fine, it's good, but I mean, I'll be honest, there's a lot of pressure on that game to be really good, because it's just been missing for so long, and they keep talking it up. They're doing all this extra stuff. We'll see. Maybe we start 2021 with like a big general direct or something to set up 2021, and it's there, and they say, oh yeah, it's finally coming out this year. Here's hoping it's good, though, with the buildup that we've had for years now. But going to Astral Chain, yes, it did sell at least to the expectation that they had. I know people look at games like Animal Crossing, sprints to 20 million, no problem, right? Astral Chain sells 1 million copies. How can that be that good for them, right? Well, Nintendo likes to have a lot of variety with their games, and it's a new IP, right? It's not an established franchise, and a lot of times those are harder to sell, and it had more of that anime aesthetic, and again, that can be more of a niche title for the most part. So I think, to get started, Astral Chain did pretty well. So I would be shocked if they don't explore that further. That's being Nintendo, it's their IP. I don't know if it'll be on this Switch, unless they try to get it out as one of the last games for the system as a cross-gen game, but I do expect Astral Chain to show up, or Astral Chain 2, to show up at some point in the future. And ladies and gentlemen, that's gonna do it here for Newswave. If you enjoyed this video, guys, hit the like button, really helps out. If not, hit the dislike. Leave comments down below about everything we talked about today, whether it's the PlayStation 5 and backwards compatibility. Would you like the PlayStation 5 to have backwards compatibility, or are you just fine with it because you don't play any of the older games anyway? Personally, I wouldn't mind it, just the option of having to be able to put in a PS1 or a PS2 or even a PS3 game, I think is pretty cool. So it's like, why not? I would like more value with my system. Also, what do you think about that 8BitDo arcade stick and then experience being possibly taken out of Paper Mario? Does that frustrate you, or were you okay with what you got with Origami King? Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.